Getting a job or getting employed is becoming something very difficult, especially for the young people in Kenya. And therefore, today, this episode, I'm talking to one special expert who talks about employability skills and what you need to do to stay up to date in the skills that are required in the market. Whether you are a freelancer, you want to get a full-time job that is 9 to 5, and if you're a Gen Z who just want to get a job and do the work for only 3 hours, this conversation belongs to you, because at the end of this, you'll know what you need to do, what you're not supposed to do, so that you can stay employable and stay up to date on matters employment. My name is Caleb Kori, and this is Jet Media. Stick to the end so that you can get the most important, because as we progress, the conversation gets more exciting.
So, my name is Cavin Apodo. That is what I'm known for, or known with. But for those who perhaps don't know, the name I was given with by my parents is actually Cavin Apodo, right? So I know you'll ask, why did you change from Kevin to Cavin? Yeah. So while in primary, I used to be so good in English as a subject. So our head teacher then decided to change my name from Kevin to Cavin, because we had other Kevin and Calvins and Kelvins in that class. Yeah. So he wanted to give me a unique name. So he changed my name from Kevin to Cavin. So every document that ever had Kevin had to be changed to Cavin. Yes.
All right.
So that is how my name changed. Yeah.
All right. You know, the first time we met, and I was being told this is Cavin, and
yeah.
I was saying Kevin.
Yes.
I was like, no, this is Cavin.
Yeah.
Okay. And for somebody who has clicked this video and wondering what is he going to get from conversation, so what can you promise them?
Yeah. So definitely a story full of lessons and ups and downs that someone can learn from. Yeah. So I can guarantee that. My mom passed when I was 2 years. 2 years or 2 plus. Yeah. But around that 2 years. So when my mom passed, my father remarried. I think almost immediately.
Yeah.
So when my father remarried, I grew up under the guardianship of my father, the stepmother, and my siblings. So immediately my mother passed, she had a lastborn. So the lastborn also passed, I think soon after. So I took over the mantle of lastborn, yeah? But naturally I'm not a lastborn. So I grew up and went to school. So I started schooling at a very early age. Reason being, the only people I was used to were my sisters and my brother. So because my father was a businessman then, there was no one to take care of me back at home. Yeah. So I would go with my siblings. We would go with them to school. They drop me in nursery. They go to their respective classes. So that is how I started, and it happened that I was a little bit sharp. So I just started learning and I never repeated. I was actually making fun of it to this gentleman the other day that the only reason I almost repeated a class is because I was a noise maker. So that day we had made noise. So we were told to go back to class 2. So we were demoted from class 3 to class 2.
Just because of noise?
Of noise.
Okay.
So then
you don't appear to be making noise now.
Yeah, but okay. after lunch, we went back to class 3. So I went to school in the same village. I used to foot going to school, that is primary. And then after primary, I remember scoring some good marks and I was to go to some good schools, yeah? But somebody in her knowledge somewhere say, no, I had to go to a school nearby, because that is where if my father could lack school fee, he could easily go and talk to the principal to allow me just to proceed, yeah? So I again went to a village school.
Okay,
Yeah.
so when did you complete your KCSE, that is?
This is 2012.
Yeah.
Yeah, 20. After that, I got a road accident, and I got hospitalized. Yeah, for like a year plus. So remember when I sat for my KCSE, I was actually supposed to repeat because I didn't get the marks that I was supposed to get, yeah, for some reasons. So the principal actually was being transferred to another school. So he said, I know your capacity and capability. I want to go with you to the other school so that you can boost my marks. I mean my mean grades. Yeah. So he had actually even bought me uniforms for the other school. He was willing to sponsor me to go and repeat. So then schools were supposed to open on 5th. Then I got the road accident on 2nd. You understand? Mm-hmm. So, you know, after that prolonged illness, he said, no, I think you just have to find how you're going to proceed from there, because time is gone and perhaps you might not come back sharper like you were. So yeah, after that, I went to Bomet, Tenwek Hospital, Mission Hospital, yeah. So I stayed there for like a year plus. So during that period, they say, this is a very young man, we can give him some bit of scholarships. So
before you get to the scholarship itself,
yeah.
So how gruesome was this accident? What was like the fractures?
No, it wasn't as gruesome. I think, I don't know, it just happened that, you know, I got a fracture on the left leg, yeah? So the fracture wasn't that bad, but I think the condition just worsened all of a sudden, unexpectedly. So at some period, I was taken to, I think I was first taken to the hospital for first aid. Then after the hospital, after the first aid, I was taken to be, you know, this vienyeji, like how they massage you until you heal. So they took me back for that. And then all of a sudden, you know, the fracture left a small wound, just a small cut.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, the cut was widening, the wound was widening, you know. So they decided, now let us take him back to the hospital. And I remember before, what fueled me being taken back to the hospital is actually that night I had lost consciousness. And actually, the person who was taking care of me was my auntie. She's from Tanzania. She lives in Tanzania because my mom is from Tanzania. So my auntie, the wife to my uncle, yeah, is the one who was taking care of me then. So, so they made phone calls back to Kenya and said I was normal, yeah. So very early in the morning, our people from Kenya, the side of my father's side, yeah, they came. They had
to
traveled
Tanzania now
to pick my body.
So they were thinking you are dead.
Yeah, that was the communication. But then after a few minutes, yeah, I came back to my consciousness. So by the time they came, was already morning. So they took me, put me into the car, and then they brought me to Kenya now. There is I don't know whether it's a level 4 or level 5 on Bo Mission Hospital. So they took me there. So while there, one day a doctor came. The doctor who was supposed to be seeing me, he came and he opened the wound and said, and he said this in Swahili. I still remember his words. Huyu pelekeni Kisii aende akatwe mguu, right? Wow. You understand? Wow. So he actually gave 2 options.
So you would be an amputee as you speak if that happened?
Yes. So he gave 2 options, either Homa Bay or Kisii.
Kisii, yeah.
So it happened that one of my cousins was there, and it was my cousin and the aunt, or the auntie. So my cousin used to be a nurse before, but she resigned. She left that job. So, she became upset. She asked the doctor, "Are you even a professional? How dare you say that in front of a patient? How do you say that to a patient? You could have told us, the caregivers, you could have called us aside and told us that. Do you want to kill him?" So she decided I was not going to be taken to Kisii. She was going to take me to her place within town. She was going to be dressing the wound as they figure out what to do next. So you see, I was there with the plaster, but it was an open plaster. So she was dressing the wound. So after 2 weeks, an uncle of mine came to see me. He's a pastor. So he came to see me. So when he saw me, he was like, "No, this leg is worsening. We have to figure out something immediately." So he called my dad, who was at home then. He told him, "Kindly let us meet here tomorrow." Now at my cousin's. Tomorrow, around 10 a.m. So the following day, they both came, and he told my dad that at this point, we have to take this gentleman to the hospital, because even God will see that we've done our part as human beings. So whatever is going to happen to him, that is now beyond us. That we leave to God. So they packed me into the car, and actually they were taking me to Kisii.
Putting it so badly. Packed you in the car.
Yeah, they literally packed me. I couldn't walk, by the way. Yeah, somebody held me on this side, so they packed me into the car. And I'm not sorry to use that word. Yeah, because that was my life. That was my life. So they put me into the car. So I don't know what my dad was going to store at Migori Central SDA Church. So we went to Migori Central SDA. So when because this uncle of mine is a leader in the SDA church, in the union. So when the presiding pastor there heard that it was my uncle who was there with the patient, he came to say hi to my uncle. So when he came, looked at me and asked them, "Where are you taking this gentleman to?" Then my uncle responded, "We are taking him to Kisii." Then the pastor again said, "Mukimpeleka Kisii atakatwa for real. That is given, because ataonwa after 5 days. After 5 days, utapata hii mguu itakuwa imeanza kuharibika zaidi." Right? So then he advised them to take me now to Tenwek Mission Hospital.
Right. That is now the story where the story.
Yes, now that is where Tenwek starts.
Yeah.
So we left Migori at around 2 p.m. and my uncle was driving. We came all the way to Tenwek. So Tenwek, I got admitted. My father had already spent a lot of money trying to, get me back to life and all that. So when we got to Tenwek, he didn't have as much. So the following morning after admission, when doctors were doing the rounds, they came 5 doctors. 2 Wazungus, 2 Kalays, and 1 Luo. Now this Luo was supposed to be the lead doctor. So he told these Wazungus and the Kalays that you guys go, allow me talk to them in a language that they best understand. So then he told my father, he told my dad, I'm going to bring this boy back to life. I'm going to treat this leg, but you will have to first deposit 100K. Understand? And I remember they didn't have that money at hand. I don't know what happened, and I was taken to theater that same day. So while at the theater, they had to like trace hii mguu imeharibika kiasi gani, you see. So they had to like, you see how sewage is collected, like how you unclog blocked sewerage system, that way. So they had to clog it, clean it, and then leave it open. So that was the first operation. Then I remember they erected the, what do we call them, the antenna for support, to support the bone. So long story short, I went for 5 operations. So while at Tenwek, they have a nursing school within. Actually, they have secondary schools, not one, and a nursing school. So they said this is a young man, and he's a living testimony that we've been able to bring him back to life. So why don't we offer him a scholarship to be attending the nursing school, instead of basking in the sun, then being taken back to the ward and all that. So they offered me a scholarship. So while I was a patient, I would attend these nursing classes and all that. And that is why I keep telling people that I have knowledge in nursing. So by the time I was, getting well or getting better, I left, because you see, my auntie had left her things pending. Nobody was attending to her things. So nobody could continue, taking care of me in Bomet. So I left, went back home. Actually went back to Tanzania, because that is now where I could get the care, that I needed. So I went to Tanzania. After some point, I started walking. All right. I used to walk with are these crutches, yeah?
Crutches.
Crutches, yeah. I used to walk with 2. I remember there was a day we were in Kisii town, I don't know, our car had gotten a brokerage. And, people just saw how my leg was wrapped. The antennas were portraying in the, it was ilikuwa imefungwa na shuka ama leso. Kila mtu alikuwa ananifungulia traffic, toka, and all that. So when I started walking now, I told myself that I need to continue now pursuing life, So I remember calling my brother. One of my aunties had come from Nairobi and came to the village, now in Migori. So when she told me she was in the village, I told her, no, you're not leaving me behind. We are going to Nairobi. So I told my brother, I'm coming to Nairobi. And I remember everybody objected it, because what was I coming to do in Nairobi? Yet, I was not fully healed or recovered, and I could not do anything, So I came to Nairobi, and then I remember the first job I ever did, because I was tired of, sitting in the house watching TV and all that. I looked for a teaching job at a nearby academy,
Which is this?
This is 2014, I think, yeah. So I taught for like 2 months, then bought my first smartphone, and then resigned, because you see I couldn't stand for long. So I resigned, went back to the house. I used to attend events a lot, and anytime I would attend an event, I would not ask you for food. I would not ask you for anything else. I just wanted that mic to tell people that my name is Cavin Apodo.
That is it.
That is it. I would feel like my purpose has been met. My purpose of me attending that session has been met.
And because I know who, like, basically what you do, training people, and saying that whenever you go somewhere, you have to make yourself known. You have to ensure that they notice.
That was then. That was then.
Is this the place when this idea now become cemented in you?
Yeah, now that is what we are going to. The things I do now, this is where they begin. So anytime I used to have this thing internally. I didn't exactly know what it was, you know, but it used to disturb me a lot. I wanted to share with people, I have this idea, I have this idea. So it happened that at some point I shared this idea with a certain gentleman, you know, and he told me that, you see that idea that you have, go and look for this guy called George Kamau. May his soul rest in peace. He is at the US Embassy. Go and look for him. I know he loved the idea and he would want to support you to achieve it. So remember, at this point, I'm working at that other job. Yeah, and at that other job, you know, it was not easy to get off days. So sometimes I would fake sickness. I would lie that I'm sick just to get an off to go to the US Embassy to look for George Kamau. He was then the director, country director for American Spaces, you know. So I looked for this guy. You know, US Embassy is not a place you would want to go to every day as a stranger because of the security measures, you know. As you're there, you have to leave your phone switched off and you leave it at the gate. So I looked for this guy consistently for 3 months to no avail. So on the last day, when now I was giving up, this guy walks in and he finds me there and he's like, kijana, kuja uniambie hii kitu umetaka kuniambia hizo siku zote. So when we went and sat down on his desk, I remember we only spoke for 2 minutes. Then he called his then deputy, Akelo. I don't know where Akelo went to. So he told Akelo, please call Silas. So Silas used to be the then coordinator, American Corner Moi. Silas too, eh? So he called Silas and told Silas, natuma kijana hapo, mfanyie venye atataka. You can imagine, you know? Wow. Mfanyie venye atataka. You can imagine now orders from above, yeah? So I came up to the American Corner Moi, long story short.
That is here?
Yes, that is here. Now this place, it never used to be
this way,
as aesthetic as it is currently. Yeah. So then we started now collaborating on, you know, ideating programs here and there. And he told me that I've supported so many people. Why do you think you're an exception? So this is the guy who now sponsors my education. That is now the university. Yes, yes. He now sponsors my education. And I remember at some point when I was deciding on the course that I wanted to do, and remember now, he had lived with me, he had known me, because we had been doing a lot together now.
Okay, okay. Maybe before you continue, you said you were ideating for certain ideas and things like that. What was some of these things you were trying to do?
The ideas I used to ideate around youthful programs. Yeah, youthful programs. Remember, I was trying to find out what is this idea that is in my mind that keeps me, you know, keeps me awake every time. I didn't exactly know, or I couldn't understand what exactly it was. Yeah. So now he had tasked me like to find ideas of programs that we could do with the youth at the American Spaces or the corners. Yeah. So that is what I used to do. And sometimes whenever there were expos and there was the US Embassy stand, he would tag me along, network and all that. So while I was deciding on the course I wanted to do, I actually wanted to do broadcast journalism. Yeah. And he told me, Cavin, do you know what that means? Do you know that would mean that you have to smile to people on a daily basis, even if you're emotionally down? Are you able to do that? I said no, because personally I don't know how to fake emotions. Yeah. So he told me, I feel like you fit into investigative journalism. Mm-hmm. So I decided to pick investigative journalism.
So when you said investigative journalism, or when you sat down and decided that this is what the course I want to do,
yeah.
So what was in your mind and what were you trying to achieve with that?
Personally, I'm someone who is so inquisitive. Understand? I always want to know more. I want to know the 5 W's and H. Yeah. For the journalists who know, because that is basically journalism. Yeah. It is the study of the 5 W's and a H. That's it.
When,
nothing
why,
more.
Where, how?
Yes, how and all that.
Yeah.
So I've always lived a life where I wanted to know that, the 5 W's and the H. Yes.
Now, after you completed now the studies itself, what happens? How did you not ended up in a media house to do journalism?
So you see, it's the stories that you hear. Because remember, while studying, at some point I got the opportunity to work with a research company or a jobs company, a recruitment firm called Glassdoor Inc. It's a US-based company, you know. So what I was doing for them was basically leadership and political research. So you see, I was still getting fulfillment, because research is basically, I was practicing investigation. Yeah. So I was getting that fulfillment. And then you see the fears that surrounds investigative journalism. There is a lot of fears that people will tell you, hey, you want to investigate so and so. You better ensure that you have kids already. You have a generation to continue after you see. So those fears, yes, those fears. Okay. So at this point, I was already now starting to realize this idea that kept on disturbing me. At some point, I called some of my friends. We met at KU on a Saturday. It was very rainy. We went to brainstorm on this idea. And at that point, I think the idea was appearing like we wanted to set up a talk show. You know, a talk show. So that is what we went to brainstorm, and we only met once. So I started, now as I used to organize these programs at the American Corner, I started to get that realization, oh, this is what God wanted me to do. So then I remember at some point, now it came out clearly that I wanted to start a transition center.
What do you mean transition center?
Transition center.
Somebody who does not know.
Yes.
What is a transition center?
Yeah, transition center. What I mean is I wanted to develop something where you see how so many people struggle with life after school. You're struggling to settle into the job market, Now that was the idea. I started now. I would call young people, we would talk, we would call experts to come and talk to the youth. So you see, in this process, I was just building capacity. Remember, at that point, I'm still working with Glassdoor, right? I'm still working with Glassdoor. And, working with the Zungus, you get different ideas. And working on company leaderships, you broaden your thinking. So that is how everything that I'm doing currently started.
And for somebody who don't know and who have not understood what you currently do, so probably it's now time you tell them what you do.
Yeah, so I do employability skills trainings and consultancy. And I think that is what so many people have been able to know me for. Yeah. So that is how now these things started. That is how I started the trainings, because any day we didn't have an expert, I would step up to do the trainings. I was pursuing this idea or this dream that I had as a side hustle.
So this is the side hustle that you're doing. It is not something that you had immersed yourself fully.
Yeah, no, that was then. It used to be a side hustle. You understand? Anytime I'm not working, I'm doing it. And I remember some of my colleagues used to mock me. Some of them used to call me embassy boy. Some of them used to call me Msomi, because I used to like walking around with notebooks. You know.
Now, there's something a very interesting thing that you've been talking about several times. I think the first time we met, a couple of days down the line, I saw you had posted something that human capital is the most important thing you can get. It doesn't cost you to get it, but it's very important when you are looking for opportunities.
Yes.
So talk to us about that.
My father tells us something. He tells us that a good name will take you places that not even your degrees or diplomas ever will. You understand? So human capital is just your network. That is what it means. Whom do you know? And even graduates, I hear a lot of students say, oh, Kenya nowadays is about who you know. By the way, that is true. And there is no offense in that.
Hold on that thought first.
Yes.
You see, out here, they normally say we are living in a country whereby you need to know somebody so that you can get something. And this is something that is it's mainstream now. That, lazima ukuwe na connection. You must know somebody who will hold your hand and take you to somebody who will give you a job or just open an opportunity for yourself. And now it's like you are buying the same idea that you should know somebody. Why are you buying that idea?
So the reason I'm buying that idea, by then knowing someone does not negate meritocracy. Knowing someone doesn't negate, I'll repeat that, knowing someone doesn't negate meritocracy. And I want to give you an example. Even yourself, you have that cousin, you have that nephew or niece, whom even if today you walked into this room and you know there is an opportunity that he or she can fit in, you know, but you can't refer him or her. Why? Because of his or her character. Isn't that true? It's true. You understand? Remember, I'm taking you back to what my father says, that a good name will take you places that not even your degrees or diplomas ever will. But now come to think of it, Caleb. I've known you for some time, and I see the things that you do, right? Now, I know you, and then now opportunity presents itself. I am going to give you this opportunity, not because I know you necessarily, but because I know you through your work. We are not related. We are not related. I know what you have been doing, and that therefore means I am able to see your capacity. And allow me to jump the gun and mention this. There is something I usually talk about anytime we are training on employability skills. And I tell people that as a job seeker, visibility is very key. You understand? How do you make yourself visible? Even to your friends, right? Does it even bother you? And ask yourself, what do my friends know me for? Or even what do my family members know me for, right? Because referrals are going to be done based on what people know you for. Not based on the fact that, oh, this is my cousin. You could be my cousin, but you're incompetent. You could be my cousin, but you lack integrity. Am I still going to refer you on that basis?
So I normally hear that some people saying we have relatives who are in good positions, but they are not connecting us to these
to the opportunities.
Why do you think that happens?
Now the problem could be the relative, or the problem could be your character, your personality, your attitude. Understand? you lack integrity. I could refer you to a job. Unafika huko umeiba. Who is to blame? I've seen cases, or I've had cases of relatives having to pay for the injustices that, or for the things or the mistakes that were done by their relatives that they referred to go and work somewhere. You understand? Yeah. So the problem, ask yourself, why is it that this relative of mine has never referred me to an opportunity, or for a job, for a business deal, or something of that sort? So the problem could be coming from either way. You understand? Or either the relative has never seen your competencies. Like, what can you do? Tell me what you can do. Show me what you can do through visibility. And one of the best ways to achieve the visibility is through volunteering. This is something I tell students. At my story there, I told you that at some point I used to volunteer. I volunteered for so many years.
Okay.
But as I was volunteering, I was, number one, building capacity. Number two, I was building social capital. Yeah, very, very important. So, you see, people could think I was working for free. I wasn't working for free. I was building something, because life requires investment. You know, when you tell people about investment, they think it's only money that needs to be invested. Even time. You see, this time that we are seated here, that is an investment, right? So as a young person who is hoping to build his or her career around a certain area, it could be that maybe you're in a first year. What are you doing on the days that you don't have classes? What are you doing during your weekends or during long holidays? You know, that which you're doing at that particular moment is going to determine a lot about your future career, and is going to determine a lot on whether or not you could land top jobs.
The fact that you need to volunteer to do that job for a certain period is for you to check yourself if you can really do this job. So from your expertise in this field, what do you think is the role of that gap year? Does it gives you the leverage for you to understand better what you want to do, or it could be a waste of time for somebody who may be considering taking a gap year?
You know, even employers are usually worried about that gap. For example, today, if I look at your CV and I realize that you've never worked in a company for more than 1 year, that you keep quitting, that is a red flag. If I look at your CV and I realize that maybe you get a job, and then after you leave that job, you rest for 2 years, you get another one. After you leave, you rest for another 2 years. That gap is very, very dangerous on your CV. And allow me say this. I don't feel that we need a gap.
Okay, I think we are not getting in the same page here. When they talked about the gap here, it is not the gap here of not working, but basically the gap here of you've completed Form 4 and you want to be, say,
you want to join campus,
or you want to be an engineer, for example. So instead of going to campus directly, you go to a garage and work for some time to acquaint yourself with what you are going to, or what you're expecting in campus.
Okay, I understand that. So that is something they call perhaps apprenticeship, right?
Yeah. Actually,
apprenticeship.
That's the best word for it,
Why do you have to wait until perhaps you're done with maybe Form 4? If you go to some countries, you'll realize that it is a requirement that as a student, a high school student, you work part-time. You're working part-time. And in some countries as well, you realize that the moment you click 18 years, you are not expected to stay with your parents. Right?
Jitegemee.
And in others, your parents are supposed to save for you until you are 18 years. After that, you understand? They give you the money, then you find something to do.
You see, out here, as we speak, there is a conversation that adulting is a scam. The fact that when you graduate and now you start depending on yourself, basically, things start becoming hard. Is this something that people miss because they didn't learn while they were still in their parents' basement, for lack of a better word, like when they're still being taken care of?
Adulthood is a stage that as long as God gives you life, you can never skip. You understand? So, and as I already said, is that life will always come with challenges. You know, life will always come with challenges for everyone, whether you're a kid or an adult. You know, life will always have its challenges. So in most cases, I feel the people who perhaps say adulting is a scam, I'm not saying adulting is easy, but most of the people who usually say adulting is a scam perhaps is someone who was pampered in their childhood, who was never taught how to figure out something. You understand? Whether you have the best jobs in this world, they will always come with pressure. They will always come with heavy responsibilities. Whether you have like the most luxurious life, it is going to become with the burden of obesity, overweight, and all those things. So that therefore means at no point are you supposed to get comfortable with life. So for some of us who are taught how to figure out something, life will come with waves, but at some point you're going to find yourself figuring out something. And as an adult, this is one thing I would like to implore on the guys who are now graduating into adulthood, is that as an adult, it gets to a point that now you have to forget the shame. You now have to tame your ego. And even, I don't know how your life was, but I remember at some point our fathers had to tame our parents had to tame their ego and even go begging for us to be able to go to school. They had to tame their ego and even go like working for other people for us to be able to achieve whatever we were able to achieve. That is adulthood. It calls on you to compromise, you understand? And know that the buck stops with me. If I don't go begging, my kids won't go to school. If I won't go working for other people, I won't be able to put food on the table. So that is what I meant when I said adulthood calls on you to be somebody who is able to figure out something. Maybe it could happen that you have a good job right now, and then all of a sudden, that job is normal. Are you going to sit there regretting the job that you lost? No. I've seen people, especially when COVID happened, but that was the most, one of the saddest experiences or stories I've ever heard of. I know of a gentleman who moved from a 3-bedroom house to a single room. Why? Because the job was gone. He had to manage situations. So you're cutting your life by half and telling yourself, I want to forgo luxury and face the reality, you know. And that, I think, is a problem with so many young people these days. They fear the reality. And that is why if you post even this interview, if it's a realistic show or content, perhaps not many of them will watch it. But if it was about Cavin, you know, showcasing his flashy lifestyle, the cars he owns, maybe the women he has, how he eats good, he sleeps well and all that, they will watch. In fact, the views will go up. Yeah. You understand? So that is, to me, my take when it comes to the people saying adulting is a scam. It's not a scam, it's a stage.
Now, I want us to settle this conversation of connection.
Yeah.
Because for so many people, they're saying people don't care about meritocracy. They just look for for a job, like they just get connected with somebody they know.
Yeah.
So for example, I'm looking for a job, and you happen to know somebody who knows somebody who can give me that job. And that is the route I'm gonna take and get that job.
Yeah.
Then there is somebody else probably who've graduated with myself, and they know nobody.
Yeah.
Therefore they are saying, don't tell us ni God manze, but tell us actually who connected you. So for the case of those saying this country is about connection, not meritocracy, what do you have for them?
Even though you know people, ask yourself, what do people know you for? I mean, I will insist on that. What do people know me for? Do people just know me like somebody who posts memes? Yeah? And that is how so many people misses out on opportunities. Because yes, Cavin is your friend, Cavin has job opportunities, but Cavin doesn't know your strengths in terms of skill set. What can you offer? Yeah? Did you know that there are some gentlemen, they call them ghetto, who lives in the slums? These are people, if you go to the slums, most of the times you'll just find them maybe on drugs, maybe not doing something meaningful. But these people, if you go there and ask them, can you guys help me reach Raila Amolo Odinga? They will call him and Raila will receive. But let me say in your attire, you are a professional, maybe a young professional. You want to book appointment with Raila. It can take you years trying to do that. And at some point, you can even have to spend money to meet him. Why that? It is because that Rasta man in the slum, the value he offers Raila and what Raila knows him or her for is because anytime Raila is on the ground, he needs them for mobilization. That is the first value, mobilization and security. You understand? Anytime Raila steps into Kibera, his security steps back, hands him over to the youth. Now that is their value, and that is value proposition. That is the word I was looking for. A lot of us, we think we have so many friends and all that. But I mean, we have a few friends with so many people we know. We know so many people. I don't know if you've ever had a problem, financial problem especially, and you're scrolling through your phone and you're like, who will I call? And you have over 1,000 contacts, but you can't find even a person that you're going to talk to help you figure out something. You understand? That is what I mean. What I mean is, please be doing something beyond posting the memes. Right? Please be doing something beyond posting the memes. Yeah.
That gives you that visibility. That
it will help people know how to resonate with you. Even you, I know you had so many contacts, but for you, I mean, what made you think of Cavin when you wanted to have this conversation? It is because you know Cavin for something, right?
Exactly.
Yes. Yeah. You know Cavin for something. That is what I mean.
Yeah. So another question, perhaps something that we need to, we'll talk about later on Gen Zs, because I know Gen Zs who are watching, they are asking themselves, so what should I do when I get into a job? So we'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
So when did now BTL came to be?
Be the Leader has been in existence for, I think, Be the Leader, the name, for, I think, since 2020. Now this is 2025. Yeah.
Almost 5 years.
Yeah, 5 years, So that is when it came to be. But as I said, the things that Be the Leader does were already being done before. We were already doing that. So I would say collectively, as a company, we have over 8 years of collective experience in whatever we are doing. Yeah.
All right. So now, what does Be the Leader do? We want to hear directly from you.
Yeah.
What was the motivation behind it?
Yeah, so as I said, and as I already had put emphasis on social capital, on volunteering, on how you need to transition from school into the workplace or even into the business world. So that was that is what the idea is all around about. So Be the Leader is a consultancy firm, a human capital development consultancy firm. You understand? Human capital development, that is basically human resource. So how do we ensure that human resource, or the human resource that we have, right from graduates to retirees, are able to be productive? You understand? So through capacity building, through trainings on different areas and all that. Yeah. Okay. So that is what BTL does.
So far, from my research,
yeah,
I've learned that you've trained more than 900. You'll correct me if I'm wrong.
It's over 4,000. It's over.
That 4, is what I got from my research.
Yeah.
It says some 900. I don't know when.
Is that Google lying about us?
Most likely. So about 4,000. And I've heard that you also operate not just in Kenya, but many other countries.
Yeah.
I was shocked to learn that you also operate in Sierra Leone.
Yeah.
Never really wrapped my mind around that country, but how did that came?
Even Sweden.
Okay.
Even Sweden.
Break them down for us.
Sweden, we have a representative there, and of course a beneficiary of our training. So how that came about is still on the networks. So you see, most of the times we used to do, and we still do, by the way, pro bono trainings, not every time but sometime, and they get the value in that particular training. He or she is going to refer someone to that training. This someone, if they find value, if you give them value, they are going to refer someone. And let me tell you something interesting. There is this lady, currently we are friends. We trained her. She went and referred her biological father to the trainings. And the biological father reached out to me. My name is so-and-so. I've been listening to your trainings behind the scenes when my daughter trains, and I like them. I would like to register. The same lady referred her biological sister, her younger sister, actually their last born, who is also a friend. Understand? Why does that happen? It happens because this person got value. You cannot refer your father to something that never gave you value. Truth be told.
And with these trainings, what areas are you focusing much on? Because I know when you talk about employability skills, it touches from hard skills, we have soft skills, and we definitely have people skills. All of them comes in one package for you to make you somebody who is suited for a job or even a gig for that matter. So what are some of the skills that you are imparting in the minds of these people?
I think before we get to the skills, you had asked me like how we got to get to these other countries. Let me finish that, because it's also perhaps could inform something. So you see, the more we used to train, and you know, we currently live in a global village. Social media has made the world to look like a global village.
Definitely.
So as anytime we are recruiting for the next cohort, the same people we've trained takes the links and share across their networks. So maybe you find he or she is in a group that has a Tanzanian, has a Nigerian, has a this, has a Zambian and all that. Now that is how we got there. You understand? Again, social capital. We are now using our beneficiaries to get to other people. So when we talk about employability skills development program, for that specific program, some of the skills we cover, number one, is we look at some of the employability skills. For example, leadership, communication, emotional intelligence, which is very, very important, attitude. We look at time management. We look at things like organization. We look at problem solving, which is equally very, very important, and several others. The other thing that we also look at is job seeker visibility that I talked to you about. So the reason as to why we look at job seeker visibility is because currently, as you can see, Kenya is registering so many graduates every year. Now, come to think of it, and you see that is, we haven't started talking about TVETs, because TVETs are about to start churning them again. Now, look at that number. Let's say you studied journalism from the University of Nairobi. The same journalism was studied by someone at MKU, JKUAT, KU, PIU, everywhere. And you've graduated the same year. So what is going to make you be noticed in a job market that is saturated and congested? You understand? Number one, it could be because you started volunteering from first year and you've built something around it. Number two could be you were given an opportunity just once and you showcased your prowess. You delivered value, and those people said, no, we can't let go of Caleb, right? So that is why I insist on job seeker visibility. How do you ensure that as a graduate or as a student, you stand in the highway of opportunities and jobs? Understand? That is it, positioning yourself. Then the other thing we talk about or we look at is digital marketing, because you see, again, we are past the age where people used to say, oh, my life is private, I don't post my things online. Nobody, absolutely nobody asked you to post your photos online if your photos are not either educative or informative or entertaining. However, if you're somebody who posts to us maybe the links to your YouTube channel, and your YouTube channel or your content is educative, like we find value in your content, we will always be there to see you, right? So you can actually take your CV and post it on LinkedIn. Not literally CV. What I mean is what you do. You understand? Personally,
that's portfolio. That
yes, building your portfolio. Personally, if you will take me a photo here, I'm going to post it on LinkedIn and say, today we had a conversation with Caleb on ABCD, right? People will be curious, who is this Caleb? You see, by just a post, I've given you visibility, because people are going to search for you. All right, or you could post and people are going to search, who is this Cavin? Understand? The other thing is, of course, proposal and CV writing. We also talk about there is one I'm forgetting. No, interviewing skills, very important. Yeah.
Okay. Now, there's something you mentioned one day, and let me quote it directly. You said, nobody will allow you to learn in their work, or basically when somebody employs you, he's not going to allow you to learn while doing it. They want a professional. So with your trainings, and because I remember, I think I captured that from one of the trainings that you were doing. How is it important for you to be well-rounded even before getting to job? Because many people, I don't disagree with the fact that you have to be a lifelong learner, but when you get into the job, why is it so important to be well-rounded?
So the reason as to why I said nobody is going to pay you to learn in their job or in their work is because, number one, the reason as to why we hire or employers hire you is, number one, to solve a problem that they have. They hire you for competence. They hire you for delivery. Either you're delivering sales, you're delivering, whatever it is that you're delivering. In short, they hire you to offer value. All right? So the labor policy allows you to be given some time to learn. Why? Because 99%, almost 99% of the jobs that we do perhaps are things that we didn't learn in school. You understand? So that therefore means you expect me to, number one, even learn about the company policies, the company values, the company goals, the vision and all that, in order for me to settle in. That is allowed, and it is very healthy for anyone, any employer to do. However, that learning period is capped. In some cases, depending on the employer, I'm talking about the probation period. That is the learning period or the grace period for you to be able to learn. After that, you're confirmed or you're dismissed. You understand? So what that means is, if, say, your probation period is 2 weeks or 1 month or 3 months, they expect you to, by the end of that 3 months, you shall have known or understood what you're supposed to do. Even if not fully, but you should be settled in and start working. You can imagine somebody who wants to be on probation for 1 year. You know, it's going to be costly. Paying somebody who has not yet started delivering value. And that is why probation period, they tell you, oh, we are going to give you a starting salary. Why is it a starting salary? As you learn. Now, once you learn and you've settled in and you've started delivering value, they are going to review that salary and confirm you as now fully employed. Yes.
All right, and I know probably those who are beneficiaries of your program would then comment on this video and tell us what is their experience so far.
Yeah, sure.
Now, I want us to talk about Gen Zs and jobs.
Yeah.
Because as you speak,
you
hear Gen Zs are people who will hop from one job to another. Today he's employed here, tomorrow he's bored and is gone to another job, or probably he's not getting the vibes he was looking for.
Yeah, or they resign for lack of vibes in the work.
Exactly, lack of vibes. So, what is your take on that? And even with the young people now getting into the job market, and the millennials and the older generation saying these are the people who don't know the culture that comes with corporate and everything.
Yeah, let me say this. And I told you at some point that I'm currently studying international relations. Yeah. I know I've started that story from afar, but let me just start it there so that I come to what you want. So, do you know how I got this opportunity? I walked into the school and told them, you know, guys, I know you guys have scholarships that you give. I want a scholarship. So they looked at me, because I was dressed in a suit, they looked at me and they were like, why should we sponsor you? Yet you don't look like somebody who could be needy. We only support needy students. I said, I want to give you guys a different angle. Even though the needy students needs help, and I'm not saying you stop helping the needy students, why don't you start collaborating and supporting students who can bring value as well? So as they learn, they bring new value. So then this school challenged me to go. They gave me a month. They actually asked me to defer that semester and prove to them that I could offer that value. So I remember within some time, I was able to land them a partner. So they started seeing the value. So then they said, okay, you understand? So I changed their dynamic and their perspective of looking at help. Because number one, help needs to be two-way, right? Nipe, nikupe, that is what they say, right? Now, for the case of Gen Zs and how they're struggling with jobs and how they are, quitting and all that, I think there are so many factors that contribute to that. And I do tell people that long time ago, we used to have what I would describe as communal parenting system, where if as a student or as a young person, any adult would meet me along the way in school uniform, and it's supposed to be class time. Number one, they would stop me to question me, why am I not in school? So there were so many reasons as to why I could not be in school. Number one, maybe I was sent home.
For fee?
Kitambo tulikuwa tunalipa fee kweli.
Okay.
Actually vitu zilikuwa zinafanya tutumwe home. Maybe activity fee. Maybe hujanyolewa.
But fee anyway.
Maybe you aren't shaved. Or maybe you are sent to bring firewood, you didn't come with that, you know. Or maybe grass, you know, we used to carry bundles of grass to go and build teachers' quarters in the village schools. So they would question, the adult would question, why are you not in class? If you couldn't give a genuine reason, they would take you to the school, hand you to the teachers would cane you, report you to your parents, they would cane you back, you know. So there was no room for indiscipline, sort of. I remember our firstborn brother was sometimes caned, and he said, I'm leaving school, I'm dropping out.
Okay.
Though he didn't drop out. But that was the communal approach. The communal approach to me was more advantageous, where I could be disciplined by anyone as long as the mistake was justifiable. And when I talk about discipline, may people not get me wrong. Discipline did not mean beating. But anybody who is an adult would be bothered that Cavin as a kid is doing something that is not right. Compare that to right now, that is not the case. You know, in fact, nowadays, if you question my child, they will ask you, who are you? To me, focus on your children. Maisha ni yangu, mimi sipangwingwi, you understand?
They're unruly.
Yes, they are unruly, kind of. So that parental system or parenting system has made this generation to be unquestionable. Come to think of it, you get employed in this place, and then you asked, Caleb, why did you do this? And this is something you're not used to. You don't like being questioned, you know. You don't like being reminded. You're definitely going to quit, you know. Or maybe at home you're used to being pampered. Oh, Baba, oh, you know. Then in the workplace, that is not the case. You're definitely going to quit. That was just to mention just but a few. But to me, that is a factor when it comes to lack of employability or sustainability in the jobs for this current generation. Parenting system. The second thing, education system. And I want to talk about this unapologetically. If you ask me, there are courses that are not supposed to be studied in a university. Honestly, come to ask me, what is a psychologist doing in a university? Yes, psychology is not a bad course. You know, we need them. But what is he or she doing in a university for 4 years? You know.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
Yeah. What is he doing? Okay. Or even a planner. Okay. A planner or a land surveyor. You know,
you have to be in the field,
yes,
not in the classroom.
Yes. If you go to countries like Germany, if you're studying a course, for example, civil engineering, and this is, to me, you know, sometimes I hear people laugh whenever Miguna is mocking Raila. Oh, Raila was a welder in Germany. Raila wasn't a welder. He was a student. I mean, for them, theirs is, if you're studying such like a course, you know, that is a technical course. you spend 70% of your school life doing the actual work, 30% doing classwork. Is that the case with our system?
Probably less than even 10% practical.
Yes.
I would argue that.
Yes. Our education system or our education curriculum or content currently lacks practicality. You understand? And that is why somebody who perhaps studied theology cannot even operate a computer. Yet the future of work is computer, is digital, is remote. You understand?
Yeah.
So now, the other thing about our education system is that we told our people that all we need is the paper. Bring us the paper, we are going to give you the job. You understand? Now, we have decided to take education for an event and not a process. You know, education is a process. You fail, you learn, you fail, you learn. Yes. Now, why do I say we've turned it into an event? We've turned it into an event whereby a student goes into first year and what they are already thinking of is graduating. So for 4 years, our people are scheming to graduate. They are scheming to graduate. So I will skip classes, At the end of the day, I am going to sleep with our lecturers to give me marks for me to be able to graduate. You understand?
Or read immediately just 2 days before exams.
Or read only for the exams. But I'm not studying, internalizing, and making that content be part of me. You understand? As long as I graduate, I am good. Or even if it's going to mean me paying Caleb to do for me my homeworks and exams and cuts, as long as I don't miss out on the graduation list. Now, if for someone, I don't know, I don't want to say everybody goes through that, but for somebody, and this is the majority, for somebody who skipped classes, blah, 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 and, you know, they were able to graduate, are they the true definitions of those certificates? Truth be told, logically speaking, they are not a true representation of that certificate. But you are going to hire them because they showed you a certificate. Now give him or her the work. Is he or she going to do the work?
No.
No, because he or she has never practiced it. That is it. You understand? So until we look into that, nothing is going to change much. I know we have CBC, which perhaps is mad with confusion. The CBC is good in terms of the content, but we did not need to change an entire system to accommodate the system, the content. We could have taken that content and accommodated it into the 844 system. So as I finish with the Gen Zs, yeah, again, the other thing is perhaps some of the reason that makes them not to stay in these jobs is because it is the generation that is trying to challenge the status quo. It is the generation, which is a good thing, it's the generation that is starting to challenge the traditional ways of doing things. That Cavin has to come and sit into this office for say 8 hours. Even when there is no job, I would rather be browsing on my phone than not to come to the office. You understand? So I think also employers or the labor policies need to be flexible enough to accommodate their new way of thinking and their new way of processing things. This is somebody who doesn't need to be bombarded. Even myself, if you give me a job for 8 hours, I'll only spend 3 hours doing that job. The rest of the hours, the 5 hours, allow me to be myself and do my things. I will do that job for so many years, and that is what Glassdoor used to offer me. You know, that flexibility is very, very important. So can we try to accommodate their flexibility where they report to work, by 10 they are out creating their content. Tomorrow 10 out. You know, That is it.
So if I'm getting your point is there is some disconnect between now the millennials who basically are the employers right now, and the older generation, and the current generation who is trying to think differently. Somebody who wants to work for 4 hours. Somebody whom you give some work, you finish in 1 hour, and they're like, now let me go home.
Yes, that is it. By the way, even personally, I have people I work with, even interns or something. And these are people who just take 1 hour and the job is delivered. I mean, why would I come bothering you yet you've delivered what I wanted? Yes.
Okay. Now, before we get to labeling and Africa Employability Summit, and of course the last year's summit, probably talk to me a bit about your authorship career. I know you are the author, and you wrote a book by the name, is it Workplace Chronicles?
Workplace Chronicles. Then there is Just a Talk Away. And then there is another one called The Future Proof.
And because we're talking more of employability, jobs, and anything around employment, so I want you to just give us just a glimpse of what Workplace Chronicles is all about.
So Workplace Chronicles, I wrote Workplace Chronicles during COVID. And during COVID, I used to have a lot of free time. At some point, I lived in a hotel for 1 month. And life there was good, man. I wake up, I leave the door, somebody walks in, changes my bed sheets, my beddings and all that. If I want to go to gym, I go to gym. If I want hot shower, cold shower, that life was good. But I had to leave the hotel because I was like, no, I don't like living a confined life. So I had a lot of free time, and I would walk around, talk to affected or impacted by COVID. And through that journey, some of them were actually even revealing to me the stories of how they were struggling before COVID came. So Workplace Chronicles involves my personal experience, not fully, and other people's experience, not fully as still. But then again, it's also an eye-opener on how we can make the workplace feel like home away from home. How do I make this office, for example, motivate the people who work here, so that even early in the morning, I'm like, I can't wait to get to work, you understand? And I talk greatly about a department, that is the human resource department. That department is very, very pivotal in ensuring that we make the workplace look or appear or feel like home away from home for the employees and even for the employers. And how we can use that department to even transform the lives of employees and the lives of employers. The same book briefly talks about the future of work. What does it look like? And at that particular time, I was trying to look at 10 years after COVID-19. Because remember, I am one of the victims of one of the victims of COVID-19 who had to leave the office to go and work from the hotel that I was telling you about, and eventually go and work from the bedroom or sitting room, So I was just trying to imagine, what is the future going to look like? And to me, in as much as I know COVID-19 had so many negative impacts, I would say COVID-19 was an eye-opener for Africa.
All right. Now let's talk about labeling and Africa Employability Summit. Last year I happened to have attended, and we had a lot of conversation around job market, what the employers are looking for. As the founder of the Africa Employability Summit, what was your vision, or what is your vision with the Africa Employability Summit?
So African Employability Summit was supposed to amplify what we do at Be the Leader, or was supposed to amplify the conversation that we just had about skill mismatch, the gaps, and lack of sustainability in these jobs. why people keep quitting, do they have the skills that they need to have. So we just needed a platform that could help amplify that conversation. So that is how African Employability Summit came about. And the reason it's called African is because we have beneficiaries spread across Africa, you understand? And even in Europe, as I already told you, an example with Sweden. However, one thing touched me, that the same problem that we struggle with as Kenyans when it comes to the skill gaps are the same problems that Nila Muyembe, a friend of mine and a business partner from Zambia, was sharing with me that they struggle with. The same problems are the same problems that Chioma of Nigeria or Lucas from Tanzania or Saada from Tanzania, you know Saada is a beneficiary, are telling us they are suffering from. So that is why we said there is no way you can transform Kenya and leave Africa, you know. So for you to ensure that that transformation is sustainable, you have to transform Africa. For the world or the globe to ensure that the African transformation is sustainable, they have to transform the other continents as well. Yeah, so that is how African Employability came about, and we did have the first edition last year. And we already have started planning African Employability Summit 2025, and we are hoping, and we already have a technical planning team, we are hoping to take African Employability Summit to 26 to Tanzania. You understand? Then from Tanzania we will see where it's going next. In fact, if it were me, this is my prayer that the next time African Employability Summit comes back to Kenya is when we will be celebrating 10 years anniversary. Yeah, that is my wish. Yeah,
that's amazing, because as we speak right now, by 2050, this is I think World Bank estimate, or IMF, if I'm not wrong, is that by 2050, one in four people in the world would be coming from Africa. Yeah. And by that time as well, almost 1 in 4 as well, or it will be having the highest people who are employable. For that case, what is the role of Africa Employability Summit in now nurturing these young people who are now trying to get into the jobs?
Yeah, so African Employability Summit is supposed to be a platform that brings together the various stakeholders. I'm not going to lie to you that Cavin or Be the Leader or the team at Be the Leader is able to solve all the Kenyan problems or the African problems when it comes to skill gap. There are so many other people who are already doing the same, and through that collective responsibility, we at least were able to change things around. So it is supposed to be a platform now that brings together all these people to be able to amplify this conversation and even to influence policy around our employability. What do we need to do? How have we been doing it before that has led us not to be able to get it right? So that policy influence, and you know, when I talk about stakeholders, I am talking about schools, learning institutions, we have employers, we have, you know, all these players.
When you talk about this labeling, are you connecting people to jobs?
To job.
And because when you say labeling, it's just direct translation. I connect you.
Yeah, to work. Yeah, I know it sounded like that. Yeah, I think it's not our sole business to connect people to jobs. However, as part of ensuring that we offer value to our beneficiaries, we try through our small networks that we have to try to find them jobs and link them up to jobs. So we have a few partners that we're working with who actually directly or indirectly hires from our database, the database of trainees that we have. However, labeling was meant to become a platform that now directly influences labor policy in Kenya. You understand? So for example, as we send our young people to go and work in other countries, what exactly is happening to our local industries? For example, maybe you have Fuliza, I don't know, maybe I have Fuliza, the moment I have Fuliza, as I pay back that Fuliza, Safaricom is able to make some interest. That is profit. If you take me to Qatar, I cannot Fuliza. That means you're denying Safaricom business, right? From where I stay, there is that Mama Mboga where I buy to, right?
Yeah.
If you take me to Qatar or to another country, that Mama Mboga will be counting one customer less. You understand? I'm just giving you the basic example so that at least you can see it from face value. A practical example. So what I'm saying is, if we continue migrating our people to other countries, I'm not saying that initiative is bad, it is good. If we continue doing that without a strategy or a sustainable strategy, we might end up losing our people, killing our local industries. At some point when their contracts ends there, they will come back here poor, looking for jobs again. Are we going to send them back again? Or how is the cycle supposed to go? You understand? So if you look at Chinese, for example, and I like using them as an example, a Chinese would come to Nairobi, for example. They would settle and then identify an opportunity, then calls another Chinese, comes. This other one would settle, identify another opportunity, call another Chinese. That is how they've been able to spread their wings across the world, especially Africa. Now, is that our strategy as Kenyans, even as we take our people out there? So that if we take 100,000, they are going to be empowered to be able to create other opportunities for another 100,000 as these people pay taxes back home. You know, that is what we will be talking about. And yeah, I'm hopeful for this topic on the impact of labor immigration on our local industries. It is a topic that I would wish to do a lot of research with
Okay, and
the links where you can find the African Employability Summit info is www.summit.betheleader.co.ke.
You'll also place under this video. Okay. So I want us to wrap up with the skills that you think the young people require in the 21st century jobs, because now as we are talking being told that more jobs are now becoming gigs. So talk of freelancers, talk of artists who basically don't align with the 9-to-5 way of work. Probably they would want to be freelancers and make money quickly, just as the Gen Z mindset that we've been talking about. So what are some of the skills that these people require?
I think digital skills or IT skills. Learn things like digital marketing, coding, data analysis, AI or artificial intelligence, machine learning, such like things, because that is the future of work. And then even as you have the technical skills, you will need the interpersonal skills or the employability skills for you to be able to even sell effectively to your clients. You know, you cannot sell to your clients if you have attitude issues. You cannot sell to your clients or effectively sell to your clients if you don't know how to communicate. So all those are going to be very, very important. But above all, I would say that let them keep being aggressive, because the job market is super congested, and therefore it calls on you to be aggressive, to be able to tap into the opportunities that are available. All
right, maybe your parting shot, and also probably to add on AI, just because AI is now becoming a big thing.
Yeah, but the one thing perhaps people didn't know about me is that I contributed in the programming of the driverless car by Tesla.
Wow. So this is something we should have been talking about all along, but now
I contributed in creating the commands for that car at some point in my life.
How? Okay.
Yeah.
This is another conversation that you need to touch.
But because of time, I contributed to that, and I can provide further details later on.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is, AI has taken over, and it's currently running the world. So many people who thought that skills like proposal writing was a headache. Nowadays, they only need to humanize what AI shall have given them. You understand? So it is a skill that they need to learn on, and look at how we are going to use it as Africans to solve our own problems. The biggest favor you can ever do yourself is to keep working on yourself constantly. Because at some point in your life, you might realize that there are people who could not even say hi to you. Why? Because they felt you don't belong to the same class as them. But by constantly working on yourself, at some point your paths will cross. And perhaps it's going to be these people asking for your number. Yeah, so that is all I would say. And I'm urging you guys to come to the African Employability Summit, create networks, build networks or social capital. If you take me to an event, I usually tell people that you live with either of the three kinds of food. Number one, food for thought, somebody challenging you, you understand? You find somebody sharper than yourself, either fashion-wise or even upstairs. That is food for thought. The other one could be food for the soul, maybe a word of prayer at that event. And lastly, food for the body, maybe a snack, a refreshment or lunch or buffet or something of that sort.
Thank you so much, Cavin.
All right.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.